Hello, everybody. Welcome, as we are going to be going through defending ourselves as Tau into melee. Now, this is something that I've been asked about quite a bit, and this is, I will say straight up, an exhaustive topic. I don't know that we're going to get it all done in the space of one stream. Defending yourself against melee armies is something which is context-based for the army that you're versing, the person that you're versing, how aggressive or conservative they might be, and a bunch of other factors, but I'm going to run through the basic principles that allow high-level players to defend themselves and some of the tricks that we can use in order to either bait melee armies into doing things that we want and they don't want to do, or little things that we can do to make sure that we can survive to get to the point where our armies do the things that they need to do. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you to all of my patrons and YouTube members who make all of my videos possible. If you would like to join them, there are links in the description, or just hit the YouTube membership button. The $5 tier will get you access to the Discord as well as a bunch of other stuff. And once you're in the Discord, you are in for life. So if you... I don't know why my brain just froze up, but let's just move on from that one. If you want to support the stream, that's what I was going to say, hit those buttons. So, it's been a long day. Please forgive me. We're still getting over a cold. So, we are on TTS right now, and we are going to go into defending ourselves against them. Now, I've just got set up an army which has recently got some buffs, and I think a lot of people are going to be seeing, which is Grey Knights, and I will be using them as our models for defending against, I guess, a generalist sense for melee armies. Now, one thing that I want to go through straight away is that when you look at how to defend yourself against melee armies, one of the biggest things for you to think about straight away is, what is my opponent wanting to do? Because I think it's very, very easy to only think about what you want to achieve. It's very easy to think, what do I need to do to get my points or to kill him? When you start asking the question, what does my opponent need to do? There's a few things that may actually just reveal themselves quite easily, and with something like the Grey Knights, that could be my opponent doesn't want me to stand in certain positions so they can deep strike and uppy downy all over the board. So let's load a couple of things in, and let's just go with the first scenario, and this will be the concept of screening. Now, I did a screening video back in 9th, and that one, while a lot of the information is still evergreen, obviously is for a previous edition, so I will go through a few of these bits and pieces. In very, very, very broad strokes, I want to look at, first and foremost, we'll start with deep strike screening. If I have a friendly unit sitting here, nobody is able to deep strike within 9 inches of that. Now, there are certain armies, and it's not a coincidence that I picked Grey Knights for it as well, that can deep strike within 3 inches. And there are certain tricks that people have with the removal in 10th from the you cannot move for any reason other than a charge after you deep strike. There are a lot of ways that people can actually move, shoot, and then move again. Grey Knights have it with their interceptors. We have it with the strike and fade stratagem. We can do it with our crisis suits. And there's a bunch of other things within the meta that you'll be able to find that people will be able to do that. So when we're looking at screening, 3 inches is obviously a whole different beast. You need to have a swarm army to stop people from being able to do it within 3. But the concept would be that if I only give my opponent, let's say Ghost Kill's on the other side of the wall, and I can measure 6 inches between them, so this is 8.9. They will need to have a smaller base than 3 inches in order to fit between us, because our 3 inches will go to roughly there, and our 3 inches here will go to roughly there. Now, that is entirely doable, but you can also start using this tactically rather than just me throwing models down on the table. And you can start going, okay, I'm going to screen like this, and then I'm also going to put a big-ass dude here. And you go, all right, so you can't get anywhere in here, but you can go out here. But what are you achieving when you do that? If the only areas that I leave you are out here, and let's say he's got a presence here already, he's not really gaining anything. And generally speaking, a lot of people don't want to just deep strike their stuff way out in the open unless it's, for example, we haven't been able to rapid ingress, so we deep strike far sight. Vehicles can't go through walls, so we want to have a clear path to be able to get a charge. That might be the only thing really that I can think about. Generally speaking, people want to deep strike behind walls. So screening is incredibly important as part of your main game plan, that you go, okay, cool. So my piranha's moved up. I've got 18 between them. Beautiful. You can't deep strike there. Can't deep strike there. And then, we start putting some of our other things. Our Devilfish has moved up and we've got a unit of Fire Warriors there. We've got, Shadow Sun who's hanging out infiltrated over here. And as soon as we start putting this down, we start to see a tapestry of, okay, you can't come in here. You can't come, you can come in there. So I need to move my Ghost Kill back. And then I've got 18 between him, less than 2-inch gap just there. So maybe I'll bring my Sky Ray a little bit back. No more than 18 there. And what I've done is set up a lattice work where he is only able to come in 9 inches away there, 9 inches away there. Not even there, so 9 inches away from him, 9 inches away from him, and you can see that you can create this sort of heat map where, especially with pre-measuring and talking to your opponent as you're doing it and stating your intent to screen everything off, if you've got the models and you've got the movement to be able to do it, there is a world where you can screen an entire board so that if they don't have 3-inch deep strikes, they will not be able to get in absolutely anywhere. And even if they do 3-inch deep strike, they're not allowed to charge when they do it. So they will be relying on their shooting or other units charging across the board in order to kill that unit. And if they can't do it and they can't out OC you, it doesn't matter if they've gotten onto the point if they don't control it anyway, because you'll just kill it in your turn. I hope that screening makes sense to everybody. And that is deep strike screening. And then what we're going to look at talking about is screening in the enemy movement phase. So what I mean by that is that if I've got this piranha just here, and I've got a Nemesis Dread Knight. Now, for a proper walkthrough on a table, my But Why Kroot Hounds video goes through how I block big knights from being able to move with a tiny little 30-point Kroot Hound unit, which is just 4 models. And basically what we're looking at with Grey Knights specifically, they fly when they auto-advance. So if he's sitting just here inside his deployment zone, I say, okay, you're able to go here, and once you clear the wall, because you've got to go, let's get an accurate measurement there. For you to clear the wall, you've got to move 5 inches, and then you've got, let's say, a 5-inch move left. So you can get out to about there. Now, one of the things that I can do is either, if I know they can't fly, I just stand here and go, cool, you can't get between me and the building. You have to go all the way around me, staying outside of 1. If they can fly, or if they're a massive Titanic unit that is able to just walk over us because of the Titanic rules, then what I do is sit about here and say, okay, pre-measuring, you can get to here with the front of your base. If I stand here, you will only be able to move to within 1 of me because your base cannot fully clear my base with 1 inch in between. Because we're measuring from front of base, back of base, he is actually going 8 inches to clear there, which means he's only got another 2, which means back of base gets to there, which is within 1 inch of my guy. So this is how you can use that. You cut a 10-inch move down to a 4-inch move, essentially. And that is the concept of movement screening, where even if I'm not charging somebody to lock them down, I can use a body to stop somebody from being able to use their entire move. Now, you're probably saying, yeah, but then this guy's just going to die. Yes, 100%. 100% he is going to. But, and this is the next step in defending yourself against melee, you need to trade. You need to have units that you are going to throw to the wolves, so to speak. And I'm glad I didn't load up a Space Wolves army because I was about to, and that pun would have been terrible. You need to have something which gets chewed up by them. Because a lot of fast armies, let's think World Eaters with their blood points, their blood tithe points, they get advance and charge. They've got pre-game moves because of their Lord Avocado. And then all of a sudden they have moved an enormous distance down the board. And unless you're deploying all the way back here, which isn't good for your game plan, they are threatening everything in their first turn. But if I, for example, I'll say that this is a Crute unit and not a Breacher unit because we probably don't want to throw a Breacher unit. But they 7-inch pre-game move. Out from the deployment zone. Let's see how far we could go. Cool. So they go out like this. We string them in a way where we keep coherency. Let's bring him across. And let's bring him across. And let's bring him across. Sorry, dudes are falling down. I know by GW rules, that means that they're 100% destroyed and are no longer usable on the table. But, you know, just for this, we'll ignore what James Workshop says. Now what I can do is deploy something here, knowing full well that they can't get to me if they don't have fly. Which, let's be honest, a lot of melee in the game does not have fly. They have to walk. If you're going into custodies or anything like that, they will not just be able to fly over the top of you. And if you're worried about that, all you do is just put the bases like this so that there's nowhere for them to physically fit. We'd probably have to give up a little bit of movement, but you understand the concept. You understand what we're talking about. If there is nowhere for them to physically fit, this unit is blocking anything from happening to this model. Yes, they'll be able to touch them, but then they're standing in the open right in front of a tower gun line, and this is where the inclusion of things like Crute are great if you are in a severely heavy melee meta. If you need things to be able to throw to people, and this is where I've been including Pathfinders in my list, because if Pathfinders die, it's 90 points. I don't care as much as I would if they touched a crisis unit or they locked up a devilfish where I need a breaches to get out and go and do their thing. There are worse targets for somebody to touch, and there are a lot of melee units in the game that if they get a charge off on a Riptide or a Ghost Kill, they're probably going to butcher it. They will just make you roll so many goddamn saves that it doesn't matter that a Riptide has a 4-up invulnerable. It doesn't matter that a Ghost Kill is able to blank 2 instances of damage. If you have to roll 30 saves on a 4-up invulnerable or 4-up armor, it's very likely you're going to fail enough to die. So that is something that you need to get used to, and this is the biggest piece of advice that I give to anybody looking at upping their game with Tau because they started it, because they look cool and they love the models, and why wouldn't you? You're a Giga Chad for starting Tau. But we only operate in that one phase of the game, and if we have anybody touch us in melee, it is a bad, bad time. So you need to get used to the idea that you will need to trade units. You have to have units movement screening to stop somebody from just coming in and bad touching your big, high-value units that you need to keep safe to get value out over the course of the game. I hope all of that makes sense. I'm going to have a look at my chat because I've been ignoring that a little bit. I apologize. Cadet T, thank you for the YouTube sub. And welcome to everybody that's here. I know I was just like belt feeding that information out, but thank you for being here. Moria, Matachik, hey from France, good to see you. Canadian Jeff, good to see you again. Jason Herbert, nice timing for the GK example. I was halfway through Kyle Grundy's recent tournament stream against Grey Knights when I saw you went live. Wonderful. That is a great video to watch, and shout out to Kyle Grundy. Took a bunch of hammerheads and long strike to a major and came second, only going down to the guy that came first in what was, I'll bring up our DMs, I believe it was like an 89-100 loss. Which is just, 89-100. That is why Kyle is the absolute GOAT. That's why he's Commander Puretide. I didn't turn multi-stream on, so I apologize for my Twitch chatters, but I will have that on. Let's just go over. Just watching to know how to beat Tau. Do you know what? Honestly, that is a great place to be. And if I do not care. I'm like Korn. I don't care where the views come from. I just care that the views are there. So there will be a lot that you will learn about how to beat Tau. You working out what we want to do, and this is what I said during the intro. Know what, or think about what your opponent wants to do and what they don't want you to do, and you will have a much easier time going to beat them. So, with chat said hello to, feisty animal that you are, let's get into guns for the gun drone. Oh my God. Pat, please put that into our Discord. That is 100% going to be something that I put on a merch item or something. Oh my God, that's perfect. Yes, I'm making that into merch. Yeah, Pat, please get that in the Discord right now. Okay, so we've spoken about deep strike screening and we've spoken about movement screening. So Then let's go into exactly what melee armies will want to do to you in almost every single game, and this is what high-level players do better than anybody else. And for everybody that's here, if you have questions, get them in because I'll answer them progressively as we go. If you have a burning question you want answered immediately, super chats are a great way to go to get my attention straight away and also support the channel. So, staging is probably the biggest thing for every single player, regardless of the faction that you play, to get your head around. Staging is where I put a unit in a position where it's not doing anything this turn, but it is in an advantageous position for next turn. It provides the maximum amount of uninteractability with my opponent and provides me with opportunities that aren't immediately available. So let's move all of our beautiful, wonderful cow people. They're not fish people. It's the Imperium who call us fish. We are actually cow people. All hail the hooves. So, this Terminator unit. Now, a lot of people, especially when they're newer in, and I certainly did this when I was new into the game, feel like, oh my god, I haven't used this unit this turn. I'm wasting its points. I didn't get damage. I'm going to lose the game, which is absolutely not the case. Now, I'm going to put these Terminators on top floor, but I'm representing bottom floor. They are sitting down here, so we're not spending extra movement. It's just that TTS is a fickle bitch, and I don't want to have to mess around with, like, they popped up to the top floor, so they're actually down here. Now, if I'm standing here and I get first turn, I've got a Terminator that's standing on the objective, so I am controlling it, and I'm against a Tau player. Now, shout out to my boy that's in here trying to learn how to beat Tau. This one's for you. Aspect ratio kind of messed up for face cam. Let me double check it, because I definitely may not have turned off the stuff on my green screen. 2 seconds. Thank you for pointing that out. If there's anything you guys ever see, please let me know. I'm a stickler for doing the right thing. All right, so live cam properties. Nope, it's not properties. It is filters. Let's edit that. Yep. That color should look a lot better. A lot better. All right, so... Oh, it's Dan! Shout out to Dan, who is in the chat. He is one of our terrain sponsors for the Teams event and is also doing a bunch of other stuff. So, yeah, need all the advice for our non-meta team? Nah, happy to provide it, man. Happy to provide it. All right, so that should make the camera hopefully look a little bit better. Let me know if it's still a little bit whack. I didn't turn off the green screen filters. Professional, by the way. Professional. So you're going into a Tau player. Tau, you know, really don't want to be touched, and one of your only ways to really deal with them, you're not going to outshoot them, so you want to out-melee them. Now, let's put these in some reasonable positions where we likely would. So, we measure out and we go, all right, I get first turn, and the Tau player goes, all right, cool, I'm pre-measuring, I don't want you to get anything on this piranha, so I'm going to move it behind this wall, you won't be able to shoot him. And you go, okay, cool. With my Terminators, from here, a 5-inch move will get me to this building, but it won't get me any further. And from there, I've got a 14-inch charge, 14-inch charge. It will not happen. I'm outside of the 12. A lot of people will get in their head, oh my God, I'm not doing anything. But, if you look at my next turn as the Tau player, I go, okay, I don't have anything with the movement to get around that building. There is no way that I'm doing that. Even a piranha with 14 inches of movement gets to there. So, crap, what do? I can't shoot him. These guys are functionally invincible standing here right now if I don't have any indirect, and indirect against Terminators is not something you want to be throwing down. At most, I'll go, oh, okay, instead of running the Ghost Kill, actually Ghost Kill can go on here, and because I can see over the second floor, nope, I cannot see the Terminators from where I am because that wall is blocking it. So if I want to hold this for turn 2 primary, I just have to stand here. These guys, safe as they could possibly be, with like, what, 3 OC sitting on the point. You then have a Tau player that has to go, okay, because of where I positioned, I now have to put the piranha there. I move the devilfish up because I'm still worried about like 17 inches from here is, you know, you're going to have a 7-inch charge into that. So I'm just going to put the devilfish on the point. And then I'll set everything up so that I'm good for the next turn. Shadow Sun can just come out here and be blown up because why not? This unit on your next turn gets to walk out from the wall. It's 5 inches and then be in double charge range of everything there because you staged. You didn't panic about that Terminator unit. You didn't, if you're a Grey Knights player, you didn't uppy-downy it. You went, I've got a 5-inch move to that wall. Once I'm in there, anything that comes close, I am going to go out and I'm going to punch in the face so goddamn hard. And that is how you use staging. And this is also something that good Tau players will do. So like, for example, instead of pulling the Piranha back here, I might go, okay, with my 7-inch pregame move, I'm actually going to go up to here and make it so that if you want to try and YOLO like an 8-inch charge, sure. Then you'll have Terminators standing out in the open, and I've got Breaches and Riptides and whatever else I've got on the backfield ready to shoot at them. I don't care about a 55-point unit. What I do care about is getting you outside of that building. And if the Grey Knight player takes the bait on turn 1, cool, I'm going to chew through that unit. If they don't, then this Tau player who's staged here, keeping themselves, tight angles so that the Dread Knights can't come and touch them, they then go, cool, 14 inches, I go over here, and then I've got shooting angles around here. They will also do things like have their devilfish pre-measured, so they go, cool, I can move 12, but then I can also advance. So if I want to, I can clear this building using 5.5, and then I go my 7, and then I roll my advance, and I'm up here, then the boys get out 3, and then I can see around this ruin. And they won't necessarily do that turn 1, but staging is something you do at every point of the game. It is something where if you can't achieve something this turn, don't hamstring yourself by thinking, oh, well, they didn't do anything, game's over, I'm just going to take my ball and go home. You need to be ready to be in positions for the next turn. And then we start to go a layer deeper where I will look on my opponent's side of the field and I'll go, all these boys that are over here. We've got, a set of dudes that are ready to go that way. We've got a set of dudes that are hanging out with the Dread Knight over here. These guys that are sitting on the back, there's a clump of them, guaranteed he's going to pick them up and do uppy-downy shenanigans with them after he, gives them obsec on the backfield. All these different sort of things. We go, okay, well, these Terminators aren't the last line that we're going to have to deal with. What happens when these guys run out forward here and they're going to charge into the Ghost Kill? Does that mean I need to be staging so that I'm just towed onto there, but with their movement, they're having to make a 9.5-inch charge, making it a 9, obviously. I know combat. Fuck you. But so this is where you start to then break down the game, and you will see the best players do this. One of the best examples of it is talking to Chris Wright about how he breaks down the game. It's almost like it's a mathematical equation that he is just doing step by step, part by part, because there are certain things that must happen. There are certain parts of that algorithm that must be plugged in. Otherwise, your opponent just gives up the game and you don't need to worry about it because they're not standing on primary and they're not doing secondary. So this is where, when you start layering your screening, both deep strike and movement, and then you start putting staging on top of it, you can see how I haven't rolled any dice. And yet if one of these versions of me, Grey Knights or Tau, fucked up their staging or their movement blocking and their movement screening, the other version of me would have a significant advantage over them. And not a single dice has been picked up yet. Not a one. So that's how, and if you watch the interview that I did with Kyle Grundy, that's where we were talking about good players do not rely on dice to win games. They are a factor, they create fun, they create some RNG, they can create clutch moments when you're in a very, very even game. But for the most part, I will know without touching a set of dice from the player's first movement phase if I'm about to beat them. Sometimes from their deployment. Because if somebody deploys his Dread Knights all the way back here because he's petrified of me, I then go, okay, cool. You've got 2 turns before you will get any meaningful shooting angles onto me. Cool, man. You've just given me the board. Devilfish out here, Ghost Kills hanging out here. I will just control primary and secondary until the end of the game. And I will have you chew Piranhas and Tetras and Breaches so that you don't move past this line. And that is the way that you start to think when you start to layer it, because yes, armies will try and rush you. But if you put things in their road, like, we look at the Grundy maneuver. Let me just spawn that in. Let's look at the Grundy maneuver. Now, saved Tau. I should have Pathfinders in here. Yep. So let's just grab these guys. And I'll show you how I use these guys. So let's say we got the first turn, and then I'll go to second turn after this. So we get first turn. Because we're good Tau players, we have our Pathfinders no closer than 9 of the enemy's deployment zone. Now, bear in mind that that takes different angles on this particular mission, and that's why I picked it. But we're keeping coherency. We've got our Pathfinders out, and then we go, cool. Now, my opponent was a little bit worried about it, and they didn't have their Terminators right up like this. So I go, you fucks. All right, let's, boom, and then let's go, boom. Now, I'm like, okay, cool. You're not within 9 of your deployment zone. In the scout rule, it says you cannot land within 9 of an enemy unit. It does not say opponent's deployment zone. That is only in the infiltrate rule. So I go, all right, cool. So all my boys, I'm just going to go 7 inches forward. Oh, this is, okay. I don't know why it's doing this. I apologize. Let's just hit escape and let's bring the camera around so that's not a complete nutter clusterfuck. So we're going 7 inches forward. Boom. Just wherever they land, they land. Cool. And then with my other 7 inches, I'm just going to go forward again. Now, he'll stay outside of 1. 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 Cool. And like a good Grey Knight player, he deploys behind ruins or whatever, getting ready to run out from here. I have then created a parking lot in here where these Pathfinders will die. I'll send some YOLO shots and rails or ions or whatever. Maybe kill a model or two. Who knows? With AP 0, you likely won't. But my Grey Knight's opponent goes, oh shit. My Dread Knight that I deployed here, ready to run around, he can't do that. So now all these guys, I either kill the Pathfinders or I use my fly auto advance 6 to go, all right, I'll go 11 over the top of you, but then these Pathfinders just sit here. I draw capture enemy outpost next turn, or like right now I am within charge range of his objective. So if it wasn't somebody as super choppy as Grey Knights that were back here, I might actually declare that charge to try and take it from them. But even just standing here, they can't move up. So when I'm looking at a melee army that wants to charge me, if they've been a little bit conservative with where they go, or even if my boys were just here, they just went to the deployment line. He is not getting onto this. So he has to start thinking, okay, my turn 2, I don't know if I can get there. And obviously, not being an idiot, I wouldn't leave one of my guys within 3. They would land somewhere around here or have to take the long way around and then potentially not be able to do their 3 consolidate onto the objective. So they're like, cool, I'm not getting primary just there. So instead of rushing him, that means now I have to send stuff up to make sure that I get primary here. It's unlikely that he sends someone all the way over here unless he's got a throwaway fast unit to go there. But if they're a rush melee army, a lot of their stuff, they'll be, oh, no, I need to get on top of them. I need to get on top of them. So this 90-point unit has created a parking lot where at best they're going to have like Terminators just hanging around in front of them. They'll charge into them. Boom. Cool. Oh, no, he went a little further in. He's a little overzealous. But they're not within 3. They would have to be in range of this back guy to get there. Even from the front guy, he is 3.4. They wouldn't be able to consolidate from there. So keep him out in the open, stop him from moving, throw away a 90-point unit, get your shots off, cool, no problem. Maybe send some YOLO shots over the top if you've got any line of sight to it through like these sight angles here. But that is your first line of defense. That is the first thing you have to do with, and this is why we've seen Pathfinders coming into the meta so heavily. They infiltrate, then they scout. They can do the Grundy maneuver where they can just go back, you pre-measure wholly within 10 inches of where the Devilfish will land, and you go, cool, I'll move back. I'm wholly within 3 of the transport, and now this unit's back in there. You can be conservative if you want, but if you're running multiple units of these Pathfinders, imagine All of these boys, one more over here stopping them from leaving. One more over here stopping them from leaving. You can see how now, rather than thinking about how they pressure you, they start thinking, how the fuck do I get out of my deployment zone, and start playing the game. Knowing full well that you've got Ghost Kills and Riptides and Sky Rays, oh my, on the other side of them. All right. So with that done, let's take a couple of questions. Let's have a look at chat. And if you've got anything that didn't make sense there, because we're layering on concepts here, let me know and we'll go through them. Oh, Bill no with the rails in the chat. That's the first thing I saw. Any of my subs flex that rail emote. If Kroot get a flyer, Tau is the cow with guns song faction. Oh my god. So can many of your models fall back and shoot? A lot of the stuff that we're taking in the meta can. Our little infantry units, no. But Riptides, you can take a support system on a broadside. Ghost Kills. There's quite a few things that actually have that. Stealth suits, the leader has it, so you're not shooting with them, but we're still eligible to do actions and whatever else. Most of our stuff has the ability to be able to guide within melee as well, so our main army rule is still intact. We have a lot of tricks. Basically, your best bet is pick up whatever you run into, or make sure it's like a Sky Ray or a Devilfish that can't see anything, because otherwise they'll still just throw shots over your head and just sit in combat with you if they know you can't kill them. So I can see how useful this is as a concept, and it works well against melee foes with less mobility than you, but how do things change when fighting a high mobility melee army? Yes. So that one is the next one that we'll go on to. The TLDW is, you need to trade stuff. You need to become okay with the idea that you will not come out of it with your army intact. You set a game plan. You work hard on primary and secondary. You preserve your resources best you can. And I'll talk about this with a couple of different armies, because Custodes is a little bit like that. Even though they're not super mobile, they do have like teleporting wardens or whatever their fucking thing is, their Terminator equivalent. They have the Blade Champions, which get a once per game advance and charge, which is quite powerful. And armies like that, and I think World Eaters fit into this same bucket, and the same as Grey Knights, they will run out of resources faster than you if they're just killing chaff, because they have to trade something they want every turn to be able to do that. So Piranhas, Pathfinders, Kroot, Devilfish, even to a degree Tetras. I have sometimes fed Tetras to my opponent to have them out in the open in a bad position, knowing that something had to go, and if it's, a fully loaded crisis unit, even a 3-man is still 27 shots with Sibs, or it's a Riptide, or it's whatever. That is better for my full rerolls to hit to go than the actual damage that ability enables. And that, like I said in my intro to this, there are so many goddamn layers. I don't know that I get through it in one stream. There's a lot of contextual factors. There's a lot of decision making point to point, but looking at it in terms of what am I giving up for him to give up something and achieve it? And then is it likely that I kill it in return? What does he have after? And this is where you start trying to pre-stage for your opponent. You go, okay, he's got a unit of strikes here, because Grey Knights are immensely mobile. They are immensely mobile. And let's say they've got a unit there, and then the next unit is a Dread Knight sitting behind those crates, because we pre-measured and there was nothing that could get line of sight on him there. We go, all right, these guys come out and I have a throwaway unit. Like, let's say, worst case, it's a ghost kill because it's the only thing over there. I took a coin flip to see if I could live that combat. He spiked super high. I spiked super poorly. Ghost kill dies. I then go, all right, Devilfish comes out, and I've got, a Sky Ray peeking around here, making it so that even if the Dread Knight decides to come out, he's got bad options. And I get my breaches out there. I won't go through the point of, putting all these guys out on the board, but let's get the ghost kill out of there. If these guys all die, I then look at the board state and go, okay, if he's committed super heavy to the mid or to that side of the board, what else does he have here that can run out? If I've got deep striking stopped all through here, and the best he can do is stage behind ruins, and the Dread Knight he's positioned in a way where even with his advance and shoot and charge, if he can't actually stand on there, if I'm on the very tip of here and I give him like a 9-inch charge to get to me or whatever, photon grenades making that 11-inch, and then on top of that, I could just get back in the devilfish when I do it, that means, like, what else do I have to worry about over this side of the board? Really, all I have to do, I could put the devilfish right here and go, cool. Even if you move out and you advance and you do whatever, breaches are staying fat, dumb, and happy just here because you can't get to them. And then, you know, devilfish, if you kill it, cool, you killed a devilfish. No problem. I've got 20 OC on the point. And I've spread out in a way where your best options for deep strike are like back here or back here, which you don't want to do. You're not achieving anything by going out here. And unless it's a Kaldor Drago unit with +3 to charge, or you've got like, you know, World Eaters with the ability to gain bonuses to their charge roll, they're not going to want to do a 9-inch YOLO charge. That is something you do at game's end when it's coming down to a couple of points and you have no other choice. It's not something that a reasonable commander does at the start of the game when you've got all the resources available. They just go, okay, cool, well, he steps out and it's likely he just dies to riptides and everything. So, I guess I'll go for it. But if he flubs, if he is not able to kill this devilfish, he then just stands there, devilfish falls back lightly, and everything else lights up this Dreadnought. It does not live under Tau Fire. So that's where, and that was only one side of the board that we're talking about. If that collapses and he's got nothing else that can get over here, we screen out, and then for the end of until the end of the game, we control this, that's 2 points for primary. He then needs to brawl over the other 3 and try and stop us from doing that. And we could do this for as cheaply as Commander Shadow Sun. A stealth suit unit, a unit of Tetras where I've got one on this side of the wall and one on the other side of the wall so it can guide, but if he can't pick up both in one activation, I just kill the one that's on the other side of the wall and he's sitting here fat, dumb, and happy and unable to be touched. So that's a little bit of getting into the fast armies. I'll keep going with chat, but we'll build on that after I talk to them. So so you did actually, is it just a case of spending junk you just debate them? I didn't read that before I went on my tangent, but yes, that is 100% it. Guess it still works even if they get wiped in shooting. Yes, absolutely. So as a Grey Knight player outside, I'm scoring. I'm going to prioritize your scoring units. What would be a key target to aim for in Tau? You want to start with, so think of us as units that go in waves. If they're running Pathfinders and Piranhas and that sort of stuff, they are your first point of contact. They will be the things that will go out and hold early. If you are able to start taking those down and trading as little as possible as you can, we will run out of stuff that we can send outwards. A good Tau player eventually, especially against Grey Knights, they'll start sending Riptides out to stand on there because you don't have an easy time trying to kill them. All of your guns are lower strength than their toughness. We have a 4-up invulnerable save. It's good that your heavy Psy Cannons on the Dreadknights got ignore cover. But having said that, it is multiple units having to pump in to kill one Riptide, statistically speaking. So you want to go for killing the breaches and the devilfish in the second or third wave that comes out. And then using this staging, you want to be as uninteractive for us as possible because you can charge us through a wall. Generally speaking, you will have more OC than us because we don't want to dump a breacher unit onto a point when you're standing on the other side of the wall and we can't see you and we can't shoot you. We will just stay in the devilfish, and if you out OC us at that point, you just sit there like, cool, your devilfish is doing literally nothing. I'm going to come out when I'm ready, and I'm going to wrap that devilfish, so if I kill it, your boys can't get out. If you do want to get away from this, cool, you're going to fall back, your boys can't get out. So wrapping is another thing that melee armies will try and do. And actually, let's run through that. Wrapping is something that you have to protect yourself against because there are quite a few units that are able to do it. Obviously, the big 10-man units are the thing that stick out the most. But actually, let's not use a Piranha. Let's use a Devilfish. So if I have all of my models within 2-inch coherency, I can make it so cool. 2-inch, we can actually go further. 2 inches from his base. Yep, happy. 2 inches from his base to about there. Cool. 2 inches from his base is to about there. Cool. And then 2 inches from his base is out to what, here? Yeah. So now what I've created is you can't get out within 1, you can't get out within 1. You have to get 10 dudes in this tiny little window here. 10 dudes in this tiny little bubble wholly within 3 inches of the devilfish. In a lot of instances, it can't be done, which means you can't set up the unit to get out. This unit of strikes has functionally made it so you cannot get out of your devilfish, even though there's big swings around here, because you have to stay outside of 1 and you have to stay outside of 1. Now, obviously, this won't be perfect because there's movement, there's charge rolls, there's all that sort of stuff. But even if your opponent can only get his breaches out back here, how is that good for him? Because at the end of the day, even if he gets them out and then the devilfish falls back and flies over your head, they can't move in here because they won't be able to fit their base between your Grey Knights. I believe their base is too big because they're on the same base as the Pathfinders. Oh, no. So they'll be able to come in single file, move 6 inches forward. They will be able to get, like, what, 3 dudes on, maybe? Which will, I think, equal your strikes in OC. They're 2 OC each, I assume. So you can set up in a way that they can't move onto here, and you could have even made tighter lines in around the devilfish to be able to do that. That is the concept of wrapping. If we have more dudes, like they're running the 10-man units, because we have seen that with Terminator units and whatever else. You've got a devilfish sitting here. Let's move old mate out. You got a devilfish sitting here, and all you need is to have everybody 2 within 2. Within 2 inches of 2 dudes. So you put it like that. He's within 2, he's within 2, he's within 2 there. And now he's got nowhere that he can get out. Nowhere at all. This thing can only fall back. And if you destroy the transport and there's nowhere for the guys to get out, they have to emergency disembarkation. And I believe that's destroyer models on 1s, 2s, and 3s. Sure, this can fall back, but you can't get out of transports after you fall back. And if you're versing people that don't have fly, so let's say we take this away from the Tau matchup and we put this into, like, you're versing Custodes, for example. If you wrap a unit of Custodes and you belt into each other, but you don't manage to kill each other, which, I mean, can sometimes happen. If you wrap them in a way where, let's just go, you know, we'll use the Terminators as the Custodes and the Tau Pathfinders as whatever, but you've charged them in a way where you wrap them. When they go to fall back, I can't fall back right now as a Custodes player because I cannot fit my base through these guys staying outside of 1. They will still be in engagement range, and a fallback move, you need to move outside of 1 of enemy units. So if I have them even just loosely wrapped like that, I'm too close for your base to fit. You don't have fly. You cannot move over my base. This unit stays in combat for the entire time. Now, Custodes might not be the best example that I've ever come up with, but let's look at like just a basic Marine Intercessor unit, and you want to lock them down. Easy way to do it. You wrap them, they cannot move. And this is something that I've actually done to other people as well, where after, it doesn't even have to be that you're fighting them or they get to fight you back. This can be, well, they will get to fight you back, but you can do this on a consolidation move or on your pile-in move, because you are allowed to pile into a unit that you didn't charge. If there's 2 separate units, I can charge this one over here. And as long as every model that can base does base, the other guys can just move closer to them. And then I go like this with my pile-ins, and I go, cool. If you want to get over here, you have to go around here, and then further out, and you don't have the movement to get to that point. I've just now locked up 2 units for the cost of 1 charge. And that will get around, and this is for any of you people wanting to beat Tau, and Tau players to be careful that you don't do. If you put the devilfish too close to the breacher unit or whatever and go, okay, well, if you charge them, I can get back in. And they go, cool, I'm going to charge you devilfish. And I'm going to go around like this. Cool, my boys are in here. My boys are in here. Nobody else can base without going in range. So I'm just going to go like this. And then I'm going to pile into you and now I get to fight you. You don't get to photon grenades. You don't get to get back into the transport. The pile-in move to tag your breaches is a free way for somebody to get combat against a unit that you have some of the best strats in the game against. So you either need to make sure you position the breaches in a way that they are the only target. Talking about wrapping, you need to have them so that they are around the vehicle, so there is no good way around them. Wrapping has so many applications. Or you need to just go, cool, I'm not going to worry about that. The Devilfish is in front of the breaches. You will only have the vehicle as a charge target, which is still a win for a lot of scenarios. Okay. So when building a list as a general rule, how much of your points budget would you allocate to units? Are you happy to trade with versus units for damage, holding safe objectives? So when I start with my list building process, I will always answer these questions first. 1, what is my mission play? What is going to get me primary and what is going to get me secondary? And that is things that are fast or can be strat reserved or just have these insane data sheets that I need to have in there, because we all know armies have those things. 2, what is my damage? I want to have something which is either dedicated infantry, dedicated anti-tank, or dedicated everything. Dedicated everything, I'm looking at you 6-man crisis bomb. There's nothing in the game that you don't kill. Now that they're more expensive, you will have overlap. So my primary play as well as my damage is my breacher units. That's why I love them so much. And I'll put minimum 2 in almost every list that I write. How am I playing the counter-infiltrate and counter-scout war? Because it won't come up every single game, but it will come up in a lot. Everybody is using them at the moment, and this is keeping an eye on the meta to see whether you need them. Okay, am I including Pathfinders? Am I including Ghost Kills? Am I using them as trading units? And Ghost Kills I have used as primary holding units that play the counter-infiltrate game extremely well. Ghost Kills are getting steadily worse in the meta, not because there's any changes to them, but because the meta is moving around them. And I think Pathfinders and Darkstrider are the better play, because Darkstrider having the counter-infiltrate bubble around him is just so exceedingly powerful. From everything I was talking about before, imagine a little Darkstrider sitting here and going, cool, you can't deep strike within 12. Look at how big that bubble is for him to say no deep striking to like a Grey Knight unit. It is insane. And then you just link that up with everything else. They can't deep strike within 3 of him. So you can set up that like you will never touch this center objective. So, and that's where I'll look at that. And then from there, I will start to fill in trading units, additional damage, ancillary buffs or whatever else towards the end of it. I want to make sure that the core of primary, secondary, and then damage are taken care of. And so that's sort of the thinking that I will go through when trying to build a list. So, don't they have fly? Can't they just fall back over the models? Can't they hop out after falling back? No. You cannot disembark from a transport after a fallback move. You either get out before it moves, if it's legal to do so, or the transport falls back and they just stay in there the whole time. You also normally cannot get out after an advance roll, but Devilfish have a data sheet ability where it says this unit is able to disembark after an advance move and act normally for the rest of the turn, but cannot move further or declare a charge, essentially. Also, don't forget, everybody, on the topic of transports, and this is a slight tangent, but I'll give you this one for free. Devilfish and any transports, as per the newest GW FAQ, when coming in from strat reserves, are allowed to disembark their contents, which mean, or the only stipulation is must be outside of 9 of any enemy units. Meaning the Devilfish has to be wholly within 6 inches of the board edge, and you're like, cool, I can't touch that objective. But these guys get out wholly within 3, 9 inches away from other people. Hey, look, I'm standing on there. Nice little sneaky trick. I have actually been putting in some games Devilfish into strat reserve. So, with that said, let's start moving on to it. So we have covered screening, both movement screening and deep strike screening. We have covered staging. We've covered wrapping and charge defense. Let's talk about what to do if the enemy is faster than you. Looking at Eldari and Drukhari, looking at World Eaters with their pre-game moves and their advance and charge. I spoke a little bit about this before, and the simple answer which will help you to varying degrees depending on how familiar with the game you are, is, as I said, accept that you will need to trade. But how do we do that functionally? We start looking at the principle of move blocking and movement screening in order to make these advantageous trades. So if I'm looking at my deployment zone, I pre-measure and go, okay, your units, your fastest one can go, let's say 8 inches, because let's look at 8 bound as an example. So you pre-game move, whatever it is, let's go 7. Obviously, these may not be accurate. I'm not super up on my world eaters at the moment. But let's say you go 7. Then you move 8. Then let's say you get a modest advance roll and you get a 3. You're almost touching my deployment zone. And then declaring a charge from there, it's an 8-inch charge. It's a 6-inch charge to anything behind this wall directly. And then it is a little bit more than that to get behind here. So really my only safe units are sitting back here or are onto the sides. Now, this is where we start to cover deployment as a core skill. You will want to make sure that you are asking questions when going into these matchups. Hey, what units of yours can advance and charge? What units of yours can advance and shoot? Once he identifies them, he or she identifies them in their army, you will want to watch those like a hawk. And you will want to put down units in places that you are kind of happy for them to be, and that will be able to get angles to be able to shoot. Probably being a little bit conservative. So let's just go like this, and I will, he doesn't have any shooting, so I'll put a Devilfish unit like this. And you'd say, okay, well, Jay, that's within that bubble of it. Yep, it is. What I will look at, if he, let's say it's this big Terminator brick. If he puts his unit down and goes, cool, that's where they will be able to advance and charge from. I'll be like, cool. Knowing that that unit is down there, knowing that this unit has the pre-game move and it has all that other stuff, he's got a threat range down this way. He may want to threaten out this way. What was our total distance? So we had to cover about 23 inches. So we want to cover about there. We want to, from him, we want to cover 23 about there. Okay, cool. So my ghost kills, because you can't shoot me, they're going to stand back here. They're 10 inches away from the point, clearing the wall. Shadow Sun's just going to go and chill out here because she's infantry. She can just walk through in here. Cool. My ghost kill here will join him around that way. And then what I'm going to do, say these guys are Kroot, I'm just going to deploy them like this. Because they can scout as well. So I'm going to deploy them in a line. I'm going to put my Piranha just there. And then I'm going to put in some of my other stuff that I value quite heavily within there. Cool. Crisis are just going to go down here. And then my second Kroot unit or my Pathfinder unit. Actually, no, let's go Kroot unit here. And this is also why that counter-infiltrate war is so important. I'll show you in a second. Because he's shown there, the next thing that I'm going to do is go, okay, cool, Pathfinder unit, bam, 9 inches from your deployment zone. He can't land within 9 of me, so I'll move them to realistic ranges and string them out as hard as I can. Remember, each model, 2 inches of 2 friendly models. Now, I'm not even stringing this as far as I could because you can see there's a lot of models in close range of each other. But let's just look at this. 9, that's not the actual measurement. 9, they're back there, cool. Cool. So we go, all right, you get first turn and you're going to make your scout move. He goes, yep, cool. So I'll put a dice down 9 inches away from there. Of my 7-inch scout move, I get to make 1.8 of it. Do you see why the counter-infiltrate war is so important? You cannot end a scout move closer than 9 of an enemy unit. This 23-inch threat range that I had back here is completely mitigated because now he can move 8 and he'll get right in front of these guys. But if he doesn't roll a good enough advance roll, or if he can't fly, he's stuck here. This Pathfinder unit will die 100%. But the funny thing is, because if he goes first, is he holding a cigarette? Is this Grey Knight smoking? Oh no, it's the point just there. Okay, all right. I thought we had to smoke Grey Knight, and that's heresy. That's heresy. The Emperor isn't about that. Because he resolves first, if he goes first, my guys just go, okay, cool. We're going to, you've moved up your tiny little bit. We're going to move back just a little bit. We're going to die, but we're going to make it so we're going to stand in positions where if you charge us, we're on the side of the wall here, we're on the side of the wall here. You'll be able to touch the wall, but you won't be able to consolidate onto the other side of it. And I'm not going to stand here anywhere near a wall. So if you kill me, you can't consolidate back this way to go. I'm moving in range of an objective marker. I'm going to move over the wall with my 3 inches and I'm going to be cheeky. And this applies everywhere on the board. But right here, this movement, he's moving to there and I've moved in a position where he needs a 6-inch advance to get over the top of me, but his base size might even be too far. So advancing does nothing for him. He goes, oh, okay, I'm just going to kill your Pathfinders then. A 90-point unit just shut down his main pressure turn 1. Does that make sense to everybody? That's how you shut down scout move and advance and charge and everything else with a unit as thin as this. I don't care if they die. I really don't. If it's them or it's a Skyray or a Crisis unit or Ghost Keel or Love of My Life, Shadow Sun, it's going to be them. It's going to be them. Does that make sense? And then you apply that broadly across the board. If he doesn't want to go this way, he goes, okay, cool, I'm going to pre-move over here. And then I'm going to move my 8, and then I'm going to whatever. And we go, cool, because I've pre-measured, it'll be a 10-inch charge into the Ghost Keel. And if you do, you'll probably end up yeeting off the point. You won't be standing on it anyway. And then he goes, oh, okay, I don't know if I want to do that. And you can have some unforced errors. And we didn't feed them anything that was untrue. We weren't trying to tell them how to play the game. We were just telling them, this is the sequence of events that will happen. Don't forget in 10th, if you can base, you must. So if you roll a giga charge onto me, then you are standing off the objective. You won't be able to string out. So, yeah. And I'm noticing the multi-stream is fucked again. So I'll just go back onto the YouTube view. For 8 bound, 9-inch pre-game move, 8-inch move. They get +2 and +1 to charge from anyone. So let's look at that in terms of how we just set up without even any of those figures, just on the basic principle. He gets to move because of where we were. We worked out he gets to move 2 inches. Well, less than. He gets to move 1.8. Cool. That's landing outside of 9 of me. Then he gets to move his, what was it? 8-inch move. Yep, I thought so because 8 bound, because GW love their stuff. With +2, let's say he moves the 10 and he gets up to here. Then he's looking at from the back of his base. He needs to roll a 5 to clear us because he needs. Oh no, that's back of base. Is that one away? No, that's pretty close. That's pretty close. Back of base. Yeah, no, a 4 won't do it. He'll be within 1 of him. He needs to roll a 5. A 5 on an advance. Even with +1 to advance, that's better than the average, or it's around the average. So maybe he gets onto the other side of us. And then from there, even to the wall, which we've put nothing in range of, he's looking at like a 9-inch, 10-inch charge. Or he can go into the Piranha, which again is a vehicle we don't really care about. He's not touching any of the high value stuff that we've got at the back. And I fucked up those measurements because I didn't know World Eaters, and yet it still worked. If I have precise numbers, which I will from my opponent, because I'll be asking him, I pre-measure to get ready for all of this stuff. These guys then just go, okay, cool, our 7-inch pre-game move, we barely used any of it. They're going back a little something like this. Cool. And then that means he needs to roll that 5 to get onto the other side of us. But those Pathfinders were good men. Yes, they were. And they died for the greater good. Never forget that. That is the point of the greater good. Someone needs to make the Pathfinders raising the flag on Iwo Jima. Oh my God. I feel like there's an American who's already done that. I feel like there is 100% an American that just jacks it to anime that has already done that. It's probably on the internet. So, that is defending against that early game pressure against a fast army. To go deeper than that, we have to start playing a game. We have to start adding contextual factors. We have to start adding decision making from a brain that's not mine so that I can sort of respond to it. And that's probably something that I'll look at. I will actually see if one of my team members, shout out to all of the Pantheon members, the new guys that we've got in, Gashi, Flano, Xenos, which his last name is Xenos, but he's calling himself Xenos, Adam, Pat, Liam, Ma, everybody that's joined me in the Pantheon. I'll see if I can get somebody in. Feud and Duke also joined us. Actually, Duke plays World Eaters. I'll see if he can come on stream with me on TTS, and we'll play out a bit of a game, and we'll just give a little bit of a showcase about how I try and defend against him. And this is also the part where I deliver some news that not everybody is going to want to hear. Sometimes it will all go badly. Sometimes the other aggressive melee army will roll better than you or make better choices than you, or they'll be on a mission where it's really good for them. You'll be on Dawn of War deployment where there is no chance you stop them. Put Kroot and Pathfinders in front of you dudes and hope for the best. That's all I can say. There are some times the game just will not go your way when you're playing against people of your skill level. And that's normal. That's healthy. That's actually good. So don't walk away from a loss thinking that you fucked up or you need to beat yourself up or you need whatever. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. If you're honest with yourself and you review your game with a critical light and you look back on it and you're like, you know what? I feel like I did everything in principle correct. Maybe I adjust this, maybe I adjust that, but hindsight can be a dangerous tool if used improperly. You might think, oh, I'll do something different, but then that would have triggered your opponent doing something different, and there's a snowball effect where you don't know what the ramifications of those decisions would be. And that's defending yourself against melee, condensed into this stream. Now, I try to give as many tips as I could about how people will try and wrap your vehicles, about how people will tag you with melee. Let's talk about some of our strats, and I spoke about them before. One of the cheekiest combos that I know of to do, did you know that in the core rules, the attacking player is the one who gets priority on resolving effects? So if I were to say, for example, have a Breacher or a Pathfinder unit with a Devilfish sitting behind them. They're all wholly within 3. Don't mind my measurements. I know it's out, but let's say they're wholly within 3. And I have an 8-bound unit. They go, okay, I'm going to charge you. It's a 7-inch charge. I go, cool. Are you declaring the breaches? Yes. All right, awesome. I have 2 CP. I'm going to spend 1 CP to photon grenades you. Could you roll a battle shock test for me? You now have -2 to charge. And then I'm going to spend 1 CP and I'm going to get back in my Devilfish. And now if you decide to charge the Devilfish, not only is it longer, because breaches wholly within 3 coming back means that, let's actually set this up so I've got the proper measurement. Wholly within 3, let's say we're on the objective, and he is, what do we say, 7 inches away? Yeah. So he is 7 inches away. These guys then get in the Devilfish. So let's just bring these guys back. He's -2 to charge. But actually, he's -5 to charge, because now the measurement to the Devilfish is over 10. He went from a 7-inch charge to a 12-inch charge because you positioned your breaches correctly. You baited the fuck out of him. And this is why Breacher Fish is so strong. Play it into melee. Play it all the time. Breaches should be the only thing that comes up on Pornhub for you because they're that good. That just became a 12-inch charge for 2 CP. Pretty obnoxious. Pretty obnoxious. One of our best combos. I know it's off topic, but I've been confused hearing a lot of noise about Tau having no anti-tank. I'd point to the Hammerhead, but I'm wondering if it's instead because of our lack of keywords. So, I haven't struggled to kill tanks in my games once I wrap my head around the 10th index. Everybody is not rocking all anti-tank guns all the time. And people that look at Knights and Chaos Knights, don't put yourself through that. They're giant walking machines that have very few models on the table. They need to do that. They need to be a stat check army. Railguns on broadsides, fantastic. Seeker missiles on Devilfish, Piranhas, broadsides, anybody else who can carry them, fantastic. Skyrays, fantastic. Hammerheads going into stuff that doesn't have an invuln, fantastic. They're one shot, and so take for that what you will. If you're a fan of M&M, you're probably going to go for it, but the Fusion Collider on the Ghost Kill, 2 shots of strength 12, AP 4, D6 damage. Oh, really nice. And then a 6-man Crisis Bomb has enough volume that they will murder a lot of stuff. I have picked up with a Breacher unit with double exploding 6s, an Armiger standing on an objective because I just flooded him with saves. So, yes, we don't have keywords, but we do have specific tools for the job. One of the things that I lean into more than anything is to take anti-tank, but not throw the game if I can't chew through everything that my opponent has. I set a plan to flood the board because we have a lot of board control. I, on a loss, do not generally score less than a 70. We have so many tools to get around the board and screen people and control things and move block and do all that sort of stuff that we give our opponent very, 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 very difficult decisions. The Riptides coming back into the meta. Yes, they're only strength 8. But even if you just get 2 wounds through, that's 8 damage, which is more than half of most vehicles' wounds remaining. So the people that are screaming about us not having anti-tank, I was one of those people. I would love keywords. Don't get me wrong. I would love keywords. I feel like we got left out for a lot of that stuff. But we aren't struggling in spite of it. We are playing a different game from the end of 9th where our plasmas on crisis suits could kill Armigers and big knights. We could kill Lehman Russes with them wounding on 4s. We aren't in a position where we just get to dominate everything with our strength being equal to everybody else's toughness. Once you adjust to the new way that the game is played, focus more on scoring and objective missions, and hey, if they bring a lot of tanks, they probably don't have a lot of infantry and mission play. I'll just make sure that Pathfinders are in combat with tanks the entire time because they won't have good melee profiles. They won't move and leave their objective, deployment zone. Oh my God, my brain is failing me today. And I'll just kill what little objective play they have. And then I just win the game because I get 50 primary points and 50 secondary points, or 40, whichever one of those is 40 and 10 for paint. I think fundamentally, Tau players that are struggling with we don't have anti-tank, it's more a case of change the way you observe our faction. And understand that everybody is kind of in the same boat. Is this a Kroot Masterclass? I'm late to the party. No, the Kroot Masterclass will be coming out after the Codex comes out. I'm very, very excited for that. This one is to defend against melee armies. Now, one thing that I want to talk about, because I don't know if this is Ben Tinker, but it jogged my memory for orcs specifically. Let's talk about go turns. Go turns are something that a lot of armies will have with their abilities, and for orcs, it is the Wa. If you can bait the Wa sufficiently, you will auto win the game if they can't go into the things that they want to go into. So what you want to do is use Pathfinders, use Piranhas, make it seem like you've got a lot of stuff to charge. And then when they charge in and they kill it and they get rid of it, cool. A Piranha's 55 points, Pathfinders are 90. Let's say you lose a unit of Pathfinders and 2 Piranhas. You have lost, what's that? 205 points? 210 points? Something in that ballpark. It might actually be 200 points exactly. It is. 200 points of a 2,000 point list. And then you just mop everything else that's on the table. Make sure that you understand your opponent's win condition for those that aren't of the gaming background. And once you know that, and this is what I was saying earlier, when you start asking yourself, what does my opponent want to achieve? What do they not want me to do? That's when you start looking at, okay, he's going to try and wire me. He's going to try and wire me. I need to bait that. Because if he gets his entire army into range where I cannot stop him, I've got nothing else to stand in the road, I've got nothing whatever, then that is going to be a problem. So if he is able to do that with staging or whatever, all right, I'm going to start popping transports. I'm going to start making sure that the boys don't get a free, I'm going to move and then get out and then do their charges and do everything else. I'm going to kill their speed. Because we saw when we're talking about the World Eaters, when they've got speed, that is when we will be under the most pressure. So kill the things that have speed and everything will slow down. It'll give you breathing room. And those are the targets you will prioritize. Make sure that you are pre-measuring everything and constantly talking to your opponent. Asking questions is a game that's played with perfect information. You will not beat a fast melee army with an opponent that refuses to talk to you because everything will come as a gotcha. And I mean, if that's happening, grab the TO because that's some shitty stuff right there. Turn 2, baby. They're going to wire at some point or you chew through too many units. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Back on the idea of trading and blocking, I saw you lose a Ghost Kill for 160 and 2 Pathfinders for 180, 340 points to block in deployment. Is it worth it? Yes. If I trade 340 points, because it's not just that turn that they're blocked into their deployment. If they're blocked in here, Terminators only go 5. They need to advance to get onto the point, which means they're not charging and they're not shooting. They do have a stratagem to be able to advance and shoot, but that's one unit. And that's like he'd have a Psy Cannon on his arm and some Storm Bolters. Like, who cares? I have done so much move blocking stuff and I cannot tell you the night and day difference that exists between your opponent sitting in the deployment zone worried about how the fuck they're going to play the game and a game where your opponent just gets to move wherever they want. It is so different. And you sit there and you're like, oh, this is what World Eaters feels like playing against me. Because they can't play the game and I'm just sitting here like, cool, man, I've won. You can't see it yet, but I've won. I'm going to achieve every secondary. I've got max primary for the entire game. And even if you table me, if I'm 30 points of primary ahead and 20 points of secondary ahead, how do you catch that up in 3 turns? You know what I mean? That's the main concept of it. That even if you table me, you haven't moved out. And let's be honest, like you have stuff like at the Dice Arcade GT that I went 4-1, was 7th place. I had a Pathfinder sit in combat with a Baneblade for 2.5 turns because he just couldn't kill it. And he kept thinking, oh no, I'm just going to roll over him or something's going to like, my Baneblade will shoot into combat and you'll just get rid of him and then I'll move next turn. I don't want to waste my Baneblades shooting, so I'm not going to fall back. He lived for 2.5 turns. That shit happens in games all the time. Ghost Kills have lived through shit that should have killed them 1 billion times over. I had a Ghost Kill get shot at by 12 Dark Lancers. Took 3 damage. It happens. It happens all the time. So, yeah. I think another big issue shooty armies have is wanting to hold all the objectives when realistically you only need 2. If you spread thin, I just table you. Dude, absolutely. Tau players or players of any army, you don't need to control 5 objectives. You need to, depending on the primary mission, most are like hold 1, hold 2. There's one where it's hold 1, hold more. If I just kill off my opponent and he's on 1 here, I have no presence here, but I efficiently kill everything that's standing on there and I'm holding 1 and 2, that is hold 1, that is hold more. That is achieving it. Do not overextend yourself feeling like you have to stand on everything. There is a moment to consider whether you flood the board and make your opponent just go, oh shit, there's too many targets. That can have strategic value. Don't get me wrong. But that is a decision in the moment that is not a game plan. That is something that you identify when you can pull off. So yeah, Ben is 100% right. Do not spread yourself thin. That is exactly what melee armies want you to do. That is exactly what they need you to do, because once you spread thin, Grey Knights, World Eaters, Space Wolves, Orcs, all of these real Custodies, perfect example. And that's one that I want to talk about, where when they start losing resources, if we play keep away and go, okay, cool, And I did this against a Custodes player, and I skull dragged him over the table. Because he only got to fight with things that I wanted to. Most of his units didn't leave his deployment zone for 3 turns. And yes, I was hemorrhaging units towards that, but it was Pathfinders, it was Breaches, after they'd shot and got their value. It was Devilfish, it was units that, like, I'm happy for him to try and chew through, but I'm constantly taking either full units or like 2 Custodes per brick. Which 2 Custodes per brick is an enormous number, because by the time they get to my Riptides or, you know, my Broadsides or my Crisis Commanders that are, I think I had Enforcer Commanders maybe, by the time they get there, they might not actually have the wind in them to keep holding those objectives. And we noticed that even though he had a couple of characters left, I couldn't contest him on objectives for my turn 5. It didn't matter. I was holding my home and I was holding 1. I got still a good chunk of primary, and I was leagues ahead of him. Absolutely leagues ahead of him. And that's what you need to identify. Play keep away, like we were doing with the Pathfinders in the middle, like we were talking about with screening deep strikes and also screening movement, using units that their job is to die. That is a part of list building. Your job is to maybe get me this, maybe get me that. I'll have a flex roll for you. But my Pathfinders, their job is to infiltrate, scout towards the enemy or back to a Devilfish, and then get out and stand in front of people, guide for a couple of units, fire the rail guns, and then die. And that's okay. That is a perfectly acceptable game plan. Every army has units like that. But it's accentuated for us because most of our units are paper. And this is where we start using Riptides. You use Riptides and Ghost Keels for things that, like, you know when they touch you won't kill you. You use them as objective bullies. If I've got, let's say these are Riptides, and I go, cool, I'm running them up, and then you send your boys out, I go fall back and shoot. I get a 2-up armor and a 4-up invulnerable save. I ignore any or all hit modifiers. I can either stay in combat with you freely and just shoot the shit out of you with a 4 damage gun, or I can just fly over your head and go where I want. Feel free to charge into me, because if you're charging them, you're not charging my Devilfish with breaches in it. You're not charging crisis bombs. You're not charging broadsides. You're not doing all that sort of stuff. Start thinking about your units in terms of what they can give you in the melee matchup, what they can live and survive to potentially bait your opponent or just bully your opponent. So yeah, that is the biggest, I think, thing that people do wrong from a list building perspective or a unit role perspective when thinking about the melee matchup. Do not just think that they are damage, because you will be wasting your Riptides. My Riptides fucking suck every time I use them in shooting. I killed a Custodian Guard and celebrated because one of my 6 shots fucking went through. But the point of them was that I used them for psychological warfare against Custodian's opponent, because he is 4 damage, and he doesn't want any of his units to be seen by that, because he knows when he fails a save, a full model is gone, even with -1 damage. And even sometimes he was failing Feel No Pains on his once per game, I think they were Wardens, and I could tell he was getting frustrated having to just pick up models when normally he'd be rolling a bunch of saves and, okay, cool, I take a little bit. Psychological warfare played a huge role. He didn't want anything to do with the Riptides. That is super important as well. Even though you know they flub most times, I just chucked them on objectives, you know, making a max range charge and being like, cool, you want to come for me, you probably won't kill me. I'll probably kill a couple of things in return, and then I'll just fuck off over your head and still be able to shoot. So, yeah. One more nugget of advice is sometimes you screen too aggressively. You give me easy turn 1 charges and actually just help me move stuff up the board for a good turn 2. Ben, that is a great little bit of advice. Let's talk about slingshotting, because that is another thing that melee armies will do to you quite a bit. Now, what I mean by that, let's take my Pathfinder example from before. So move the Devilfish back like this. Let's just grab some boys. It doesn't matter if they're Breaches or Pathfinders. You know they all look alike to Orcs. So if I go, oh, yeah, cool. I'm not going to grunty maneuver. I'm going to 7-inch pre-game move back like this. And you forgot to measure. And you're like, oh, yeah, cool. If I go first, he's not leaving. And you do it too aggressively. And he goes, okay, cool. I've got a unit of boys that will walk 6. So, cool. If you had a 7-inch move back, my charge would have been like a 10-inch charge or something. But because you decided to stand there, I wouldn't have been able to get on here without advancing. Oh, cool. You've given me a 5-inch charge. I then go to the extremity here, go around you, because I got a good charge roll. Then that unit dies, and let's say we were dumb enough to leave a devilfish just here. Within 3 of it, he just goes, cool, I can land within engagement range. Which, remember, technically you have a 4-inch bubble around you, because it's not he has to land base to base. It is land within engagement range. If he is within 4 inches of you, he can move into you, which means he then goes here and he's like, oh, okay, cool. My unit's in your deployment zone turn 1, because you stood here and gave a unit with a 6-inch move the ability to slingshot. That is slingshotting, and that is something you don't want to do. Your move block, you have to know that they are not going to be able to move further with their charge roll and whatever else, and that you are actually hampering pre-game moves or their actual move. Like if I do this against a Dread Knight, where did I put the big boy? Did I kill him? Yeah, I did. If I stand here against the Dread Knight, and I know he can move like fucking 8, 9, 10 inches, I know that that is about where he's going to want to move anyway. So I might want to be a little bit further forward, so I start getting rid of him. He's going to be able to advance and charge and advance and shoot. So this, he needs a 6-inch advance. Actually, no, he can't advance over the top of us. That is worth it. He will charge onto you. Just make sure you don't do stupid shit like that. But because he's a vehicle, he can't consolidate in the same ways. So he's just going to stand here. He's in the open. Worth. A Terminator unit that goes 5. Let's pick him up. I did the same thing again. I hate myself. Dad, you were right. Okay, I give him a 5-inch charge. Actually, no, that's a 4-inch charge. He's 4.9 from him. 4-inch charge to get into him. Let's actually roll some dice here. Let's have some fun. So, this guy, and watch my dice luck. Watch how shit my dice rolls are. We get a 5. So he just goes in like this. And then he goes, cool. Boom. The Terminator unit, which he sends this way because he's a smart Grey Knights player, fights us base to base with him, base to base with him. Then he goes, okay, cool. With my 3, after you're dead, I'm going to move my 3 across the wall because I've left myself a little bit of room. And now I'm on the objective, but you can't see me. I just got to kill your unit for free and get into an advantageous staging position. Remember staging? Because you were dumb enough to leave these guys here for a slow unit to slingshot into them and then go where they needed to with their consolidation rules. So yes, very, very good point, Ben. Thank you for that. Slingshotting is not the same as move blocking and movement screening. And identifying when you're slingshotting somebody or when you're blocking them is a very, very good trainable skill. And even if you fuck it up, don't be afraid to try. Do it so that you learn the lessons of not then doing it later on. Does that make sense to everybody? Wait, why am I giving anti-orc advice? Because you're a good dude, that's why. And I'm pretty sure this is Ben Tinker. So everybody, rank 1 CSM player in Australia, soon to be rank 1 Orc player, soon to be rank 1 Tyrannid player, because he's got Alex Englezos from Art of War coaching him on using the snakes. My Storm Surge took 2 turns to kill a single Warden. That shit happens all the time. And that's why I was saying with Custodes, we play keep away. You don't give them the option of good charges. You either use Pathfinders and Piranhas to go, you are not moving through here. Guaranteed 100% you are not moving through here. I will die, but you will move 3 inches less than you could have otherwise. And then they start worrying about, because Custodes worry about primary if they can't walk out onto objectives. If we stand in their way, they have a really hard time. Grey Knights, maybe not so much because they can just uppy downy. But then if they do that too much, we take over the board and screen everything to the point where they've got nowhere to come up. That's when they'll start using the 3-inch deep strike, which is again why Dark Strider is so powerful. But anyway, not to be a broken record, does that make sense to everybody? Are there any questions from everybody that is in the stream at the moment? I know that was a lot. We've been going for an hour and a half. Oh my God, an hour and a half. But that is as good as I can condense down melee defense for everybody. And like I said in the intro, I cannot do all of this in a single video or in a single stream. It's impossible. And it's also why I decided to do this as a stream rather than a pre-recorded video, because that pre-recorded video would be even longer than this. This just allows me to fucking rapid fire off everything I need to. And it will come down to practice and training. It'll come down to making some mistakes. It'll come down to learning the different armies and what their tricks are. Reach out to your tournament community. Get to know people. Then you'll have awesome motherfuckers like Ben show up in your stream and start helping people with orcs. So, yeah. I'm hoping the recruit points stayed the same with the new codex. A 40 OC unit for 160 points with on-she is so much fun. The extra 20 wins you have to chew through to get on Chad is even better. I'm hoping that on-she gets some love in the new codex because I don't think his current iteration, he's in a good spot. I am assuming that everything that I'm teaching, we may actually start doing to people. Because rampages, if their rules are good, I am going to be shoving those in people's face all the goddamn time. And I will be staging them. And I'll be getting them ready for a little bit of counterpunch. I'll be using the principles that I just taught you to defend against to do to other people. Kroot, if they will likely keep their pre-game move. I don't see a world where they don't keep scout. There might even be worlds where we can take stuff that gives them infiltrate. That will be enormous. If I can run a Kroot or a combined arms list, like I will play pure Kroot because fucking of course I'm going to, but if I can run a combined arms list where my opponent just spends their entire game chewing through Kroot, not leaving their deployment zone, and my entire army is free to shoot and move and get angles and be safe, that is going to be a fucking nightmare to deal with. And I do think that's coming. On a side note, for everybody that's here, if you've enjoyed the content, aside from the usual internet things, liking and sharing and throwing comments down and all the stuff for the engagement gods, one other thing that we are doing is we are actually raising funds for me to be able to get a number of Kroot boxes when they come out in the new units, so I can get them into GTs and onto tabletops and everything else and start offering masterclasses like this for free on YouTube in order to teach people everything that I'm learning about the new unit. So if you would like to contribute to that, get your name on banners at the events that I run, like the Teams event that we are running this weekend coming. There is a link down in the description to the PayPal. Any donations are greatly appreciated, and unless you ask to be anonymous, you will be acknowledged in front of like 100 New South Wales 40K players and then on videos that I make and everything else. So with that said, we will see if there's any questions from everybody else. But quick shout out, as we've been going for a long time, to my patrons who make every single video possible. If you would like to support the studio, everything that I'm doing, and help us keep pushing content and the New South Wales tournament scene, Patreon link in the description, as well as the YouTube membership links. The $5 tier gets you into the Discord for life. So, important question. Oh, here we go. This is spicy. Important question. Which battlesuit vehicle would be the most fun to pilot? Okay. So I think about this in two different ways. The first is as a nerd thinking about being in a fictional world. The other is as an actual veteran of Afghanistan. So the first one, the fun one, the nerdy one, I would probably say Riptide, because you are big, you are mobile, you are fast, you are protected by shielding, and unlike the rules on the tabletop, you're rocking an ion accelerator or a heavy burst cannon. That shit hits from a long way away. And you have a lot of tech built into it. And before they gutted it in 10th, the Nova reactor was actually really friggin' cool. As a veteran, I would have to go between either a crisis suit or a broadside suit. Broadside, because being able to hit people over the horizon is just, it tickles me a little bit. It is a very safe position to be in. It is very effective. Using guiders, which is actually kind of funny when the ability first came out in 10th. Everybody was like, oh, nah, this is stupid, this is whatever. But like, there are absolutely forward observers and spotters and JTACs and everything else that will work with their military in order to get artillery and air and sniper fire and everything else onto the places that it needs to go. Sometimes without line of sight of the person who's actually hitting the trigger in the first place. Crisis suit, because being in something that somebody has to chew through that much armor in an advanced suit with jetpacks means that you don't just get your head blown off by the first round that comes past you. So yeah, that and the crisis suits, I've always had a deep love for them. I mean, don't get me wrong, hammerhead and broadsides are what got me into the game. The railgun, Beal, if you can hit them with the rail emote, or any of my Twitch subscribers. But yeah, I think that would probably be, cold starter make noises when go fast, of course. Wrong answer, watercast, re-educate him. My goodness. Railgun go burr. Yavara. I actually got to play the Yavara. We have totally gone off the melee defense thing. We're in the wrap-up stage where I'm just going to talk shit about random stuff. If you've been here for one of my live streams, you know how we're about to go. I got to put a Yavara on the table. I was playing against a dude who was sort of like learning the game. I just brought this fun, fluffy list and was trying to like teach him bits and pieces. And I actually got to run it. And my God, with Riptides being 165 points, paying 220 or 225 for that thing felt fucking bad. Oh my God, it felt bad. I'm very, very glad I didn't spend my hard-earned, hard-to-come-by dollars on one of those. Similar to the one with the most DACA. Oh my God, we got an Orc player in here wearing Tau armor. Get him out. That's not a Guevesa. That's a Gueron Shah. Get him out. Get him out. As an FO and a JFO, I concur. Oh, I wonder if I've actually come across you before. Or even if you're Australian, you might be from any of the countries that are on the mole. But yeah, I adore the Yavara. I do too. I really, really, really do. But yeah. Having an army rule that's my job is pretty sick. Yeah, it's unfortunately where you start to get like overly restricted with it. Like I actually kind of loved daisy chaining, not from the toxic shithole that it turned Reddit into, but actually just from the idea that like, dude helps you out onto your target and then you help that dude out onto his target, because just because you've shot or somebody's guided you doesn't mean that you can't do the same fucking thing for them. Like, radios go two ways. It's not like it's a one-way sort of deal. But anyway. So yeah, if we have any more questions, if we have anything else, shoot them through. But other than that, that will wrap up our Melee Defense live stream. I hope for everybody watching this as a VOD on YouTube, and for all of our chatters here at the moment, anybody that's joining us on Twitch, this will be available immediately as a VOD after. Please forgive my brain turns off when trying to do the plugging at the start of the live stream. I don't often have that happen to me. I would prefer if my performance issues happen in the bedroom with Chelsea. Her opinion of me cannot possibly go down. But obviously the internet doesn't know all of my stories yet. So... yeah, mate, we've talked before. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I have seen a bunch of names lately. I apologize. I have a couple of mutual mates who are Dagger, Call Sign, Snakes, and City. Yes, I remember you. Yeah. Well, good to see you, man. Good to see you in another stream. Hope everything's going well. Wouldn't the Ghost Skill be OP in modern day combat? Fucking oath. If Lone Op existed how it would and we could cloak and all that sort of stuff, that shit would be terrifying. That shit would be terrifying. Thanks for the stream. Good fun, helpful lessons. Thank you, Cheese Toasty. I appreciate it. And anybody who would like to join the Discord, we have some content coming out very, very soon where registrations for our Battle Sector League have closed, and I'll actually be on stream for either my games against people, or I will be commentating over other people's games. So if you're keen for that, do the internet things, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, help us out with the algorithm gods, or don't. I'm not your dad. So with that, I will see everybody in the next stream. Thank you so much to all of my chatters, my lurkers, my hangers, people that came here to beat the crap out of Tau, or people that are playing Tau and trying to wrap their head around it. You are all greatly appreciated. We'll see you for the next one, everybody. Tau va.